The moment you start questioning whether someone cares about you, they already don't. That's not a harsh take. That's the only take. You don't question oxygen. You don't wonder if gravity still applies to you today. Care is the same. When it's real, it registers without debate. The doubt you're sitting with right now is not a question. It is the answer. And yet you're still here, building a case. You're replaying conversations, cataloging silences, measuring the weight of a text that took 3 hours to arrive. You're telling yourself they're busy, they're guarded, they show love differently. You have constructed an entire legal defense for someone who has never once asked to be defended. That's not loyalty. That is begging dressed in the clothes of patience. Look at what you're actually doing. You are burning your own cognitive resources, your focus, your sleep, your internal silence to protect someone else's indifference from having consequences. You are absorbing the cost of their absence, so they never have to pay it. And somewhere deep in that logic, you believe that if you're patient enough, understanding enough, quiet enough, they will eventually decide you are worth consistent effort. They won't. Not because they are monsters, but because you have already demonstrated that their minimum is sufficient for you. You trained them to give you nothing by accepting nothing and calling it love. That is not a character flaw in them. That is a choice you made, repeatedly, in silence. Here is the philosophical cut that most people refuse to accept. Indifference is not a phase. It is a position. It doesn't fluctuate based on their stress levels, or their schedule, or the alignment of their circumstances. When someone is genuinely invested in your presence, they find a way. Not perfectly, not without friction, but consistently. Without you having to engineer situations that force them to show up. The moment you are engineering those situations, you have already lost. You are now doing the emotional labor of two people, while the other person enjoys the benefits of your investment at zero cost to themselves. This is not a relationship dynamic. This is an extraction. Now consider what you are actually afraid of. You are not afraid of losing them. You are afraid of being right. Because if your intuition is correct, and it is, then the story you've been telling yourself collapses entirely. The version of them that exists in your head, the one who cares beneath the surface, the one who just needs more time, the one who is fighting their own demons, that person is a fiction you authored. And you've grown attached to your own fiction. This is the real prison, not them, you. Imagine you're the type of person who has built a reputation for being self-contained. You don't broadcast your struggles, you handle things. And there's someone in your orbit, maybe someone you've invested months into, someone who knows more about your internal world than most people ever get access to. You notice the patterns slowly. They surface when they need something and disappear when the transaction is complete. You rationalize it. You tell yourself the friendship is just low maintenance, that not everyone expresses closeness the same way. But then comes the moment, a real moment, when your edges are exposed and you need presence, not performance, and they are simply elsewhere. No dramatic betrayal, no confrontation, just the quiet, devastating sound of an empty room. That moment is not the beginning of the problem. That moment is the receipt. The transaction was always one-directional. You were always the resource. And the clarity of that moment, cold, clean, absolute, that is the only data point you will ever need. Because here's what no one tells you about Dark Stoicism. It is not about hardening your heart. It is about sharpening your perception. The Stoics did not build walls. They built discernment. Marcus Aurelius did not hate people who disappointed him. He simply stopped allocating resources to them. That is a surgical move, not an emotional one. And that distinction matters entirely. When you operate from emotion, from hurt, from the need to be understood, from the desire to confront and explain and receive acknowledgement, you are still under their influence. You are still letting them set the terms of your internal state. But when you operate from clear, cold assessment, you become ungovernable. nobody can destabilize what they can no longer reach. The mistake most people make is believing that severance requires justification. They wait for a betrayal egregious enough to grant them permission to leave. They need the lie, the public humiliation, the final transgression that even their most forgiving friend would agree constitutes a valid reason. But that waiting is the trap. Every day you spend collecting evidence is another day they occupy rent-free territory in the most valuable real estate you own, your attention. Your attention is not decorative, it is directional. Wherever your attention flows, your power follows. And right now, yours is hemorrhaging towards someone who has already shown you their position through the oldest language in existence, the language of consistent, quiet absence. The truly powerful do not require a confession. They do not need the other person to admit what they both already know. There is no tribunal, no closing argument, no final conversation designed to transfer some portion of guilt onto the appropriate party. That desire, the desire for acknowledgement, for closure, for the satisfying moment where they finally see what they've cost you, is the last remaining hook they have in you. Cut it. Not because you don't deserve that acknowledgement. You do, but because waiting for it means they still have the power to give or withhold something you need. And you need nothing from someone who has already demonstrated they have nothing real to offer. So here is your protocol. No announcement, no final message designed to make them feel the weight of your absence. No post engineered to signal that you have moved on. Silence is not passivity. Silence is the closing of a door with such deliberate, unshakable calm that the person on the other side feels it before they hear it. You stop responding, not in anger, in indifference. You redirect every unit of attention you were spending on them, and you place it with surgical precision onto something that compounds: your craft, your discipline, your vision. You build in the space their noise used to occupy, and you do not look back, not because you are suppressing something, but because there is genuinely nothing they're worth turning around for. You already got everything you needed from them, a lesson about your own standards. One boundary set here changes the entire ecosystem of who gets access to you. And that is where the real work begins. Not the work of cutting dead weight, but the work of becoming someone whose standards make weak investment feel physically impossible.